Have you ever been on a plane, looked around at the other passengers, and just seen a sea of strangers? You've got the business traveler typing away, the family trying to keep their kids entertained, the student with headphones on, lost in their own world. Just ordinary people, heading from point A to point B. On Southwest Airlines Flight 1380, that's exactly what it was. A routine flight from New York to Dallas. And in seat 10F, sir was a man named Tim McGinty. He was a rancher from Texas, wearing a cowboy hat, quietly minding his own business. Just another face in the crowd. But in a few moments, Tim McGinty and everyone else on the plane would be thrown into a situation straight out of a nightmare, and this quiet man in row 10 would be called upon to become a hero. The flight took off smoothly. The seatbelt sign switched off, and the passengers began to settle in for the journey. Flight attendants started their service. Everything was perfectly normal. Then, about 20 minutes into the flight, at an altitude of 32,0 feet, a deafening explosion ripped through the air. The plane was violently jolted, and the cabin instantly depressurized. Oxygen masks dropped from the ceiling as a terrifying wind howled through the aircraft. Passengers screamed, grabbing for their masks, their minds racing to comprehend what was happening. The left engine had exploded, sending shrapnel flying into the fuselage and shattering a window. And that shattered window was right next to a passenger named Jennifer Reardon, a mother of two and a bank executive from New Mexico. The explosive decompression created a powerful suction that pulled her partially out of the broken window. It was a horrifying, chaotic scene. The wind was roaring, loose items were flying through the cabin, and the panic was setting in. Passengers nearby desperately tried to hold onto Jennifer, to pull her back inside, but the force was immense. They were losing their grip. The situation was dire. People were praying, sending final text messages to their loved ones. It felt like the end. This is where our story turns. From his seat in row 10, Tim McGinty saw the chaos unfolding just a few rows ahead of him. Without a second's hesitation, he knew he had to act. He unbuckled his seatbelt and he moved against the powerful wind towards the shattered window. He wasn't the only one. Another passenger, a firefighter named Andrew Needham, was also making his way to help. When Tim reached the window, he saw the desperate struggle. He didn't sink, he just did. He grabbed Jennifer's torso, trying to pull her back in. Andrew joined him, and together, they fought against the incredible force of the wind and the pressure differential. Imagine the scene, the deafening roar, the bone-chilling cold, the lack of oxygen, and the sheer physical struggle of trying to pull a person back into a plane at over 30,0 feet. It was a Herculean task. Tim later said he had to wrap his arm around her body and pull with everything he had. For several long, agonizing minutes, he and Andrew battled to bring her back inside the cabin. They refused to let go. They refused to give up. This quiet rancher, who had just been sitting on a plane moments before, was now in the middle of a life or death struggle, demonstrating a level of courage that is truly hard to comprehend. Meanwhile, in the cockpit, the pilot, Captain Tammy Jo Schultz, was performing her own act of incredible heroism. Captain Schultz is a former fighter pilot for the U.S. Navy, one of the first women to fly the F-18 Hornet. The training kicked in immediately. When the engine exploded, the plane went into a sharp burn and began to drop rapidly. With calm professionalism, she and her co-pilot, Darren Elliser, wrestled for control of the crippled aircraft. They shut down the damaged engine, stabilized the plane, and began a rapid emergency descent. Her voice over the radio to air traffic control was astonishingly calm. There was no more panic, no more fear, just pure, steely competence. She calmly communicated the emergency, the engine failure, the cabin depressurization, and the need to land immediately. Her composure in the cockpit was a mirror image of the bravery happening in the cabin. She was the steady hand guiding them all through the storm. Passengers who could hear her announcement said her calm voice was a source of immense reassurance in the midst of the terror. They knew someone was in control, fighting for them. But in the cabin, Tim McGinty and Andrew Needham finally succeeded. They managed to pull Jennifer Reardon completely back inside the plane. A retired nurse, Peggy Phillips, immediately began administering CPR, trying desperately to save her life. The other passengers, though terrified themselves, worked together. They plugged the hole in the window with life vests and whatever else they could find to reduce the wind and the noise. In this moment of extreme crisis, strangers became a team. They looked after each other, held hands, and offered comfort. The initial panic had transformed into a collective effort to survive. Captain Schultz skillfully guided the damaged plane toward Philadelphia International Airport for an emergency landing. She brought the aircraft down with such precision and control that passengers later described it as one of the smoothest landings they had ever experienced. As the plane touched down safely on the runway, a wave of relief washed over the cabin. They had made it. They had survived. Emergency crews were waiting, and they immediately boarded the aircraft. Despite the heroic efforts of Tim, Andrew, and the nurse Peggy, Jennifer Reardon tragically did not survive her injuries. It was a devastating loss that underscored the severity of the incident. But because of the actions of so many people on that flight, 148 other lives were saved. In the aftermath, the stories of heroism emerged. Captain Tammy Jo Schultz was rightfully celebrated worldwide for her nerves of steel and the incredible airmanship, but the story of the quiet man in the cowboy hat, Tim McGinty, also captured the public's imagination. He wasn't a trained first responder on duty. He was just a regular person who saw someone in desperate need and ran toward the danger, not away from it. When interviewed later, Tim was incredibly humble. He deflected praise, saying he wasn't a hero and that he just did what anyone would have done. He sighed, "He was just a guy in a cowboy hat." But his actions say otherwise. He demonstrated that heroism isn't about wearing a chape or having superpowers. It's about a choice. It's about seeing a crisis and deciding to act, to help, to put someone else's life before your own safety. He, along with Andrew Needham, Peggy Phillips, and the entire crew led by Captain Schultz, showed the world what ordinary people are capable of in extraordinary circumstances. This story is a powerful reminder that heroes are all around us. They might be sitting quietly in the next seat over, on a bus, in a coffee shop, or on a plane in row ke-10. You never know when a normal day will turn into a moment that tests the limits of human courage. The story of Flight 1380 is a tragedy, but it is also a profound story of bravery, teamwork, and the unbreakable human spirit. It shows that when things are at their worst, people can be at their absolute best. Thank you so much for watching. If this story moved you, please give this video a like and consider subscribing for more incredible stories of real-life heroes. And remember to share this story to honor the courage shown on that fateful day. Until next time, stay safe.